Всем добрый день. Настал этот час. Мы начинаем наш YouTube-канал на английском языке. Я сама поняла, что очень классного YouTube-канала на английском языке нет, где было бы все структурировано. И в нашем случае вы получите структурированные уроки. И мы начнем в первую очередь с подготовки к государственному экзамену по английскому языку. Да, меня зовут Динара Мин, и нашего учителя зовут Джеймс. James, hi.
Hi. Yeah, so my name's James. Hi.
James, could you tell us which, so obviously you are from the UK, and from which city you are?
Yeah, so I'm from a small city called Worcester, which is spelled W-O-R-C-E-S-T-E-R. So it's near Birmingham. It's in the centre of England. Famous for the cooking sauce.
Oh, nice. Interesting. For some reason, I thought that you are from London.
No. So, as in, obviously, so I've lived in a few places in the UK, but I haven't lived in London before.
Maybe I still do not recognize different accents, English accents. For some reason, you sounded London accent, or it's kind of the same?
Yeah, I have. So we would call it's a relatively standard RP accent. So this is mostly in my case, I've lived in a few countries, so your regional accent becomes more muted anyway, and it's stronger. It's not as strong as well if you're in private education. So it's an accent you find across the country. It's just it's a small percentage basically of the population.
Interesting, because I had when I was in the UK, the first time I heard Irish speaking, I found so difficult to understand them. And also from Liverpool, I think they have also strong accent, right?
Yeah, so the Liverpudlian accent is called Scouse. So it's very distinctive. So it's a very distinctive one, and especially the way that they turn the k sounds into h, and the t sounds into th. So you might hear them say "sit down," down. So it's quite an intense accent. That is. I had similar experiences when I was living in Scotland for half a year, for 5 years, sorry. So in Scotland, it depends on whom they're speaking with. So if they're speaking with another local, it's very intense. So it's almost another language. So some consider it another language. Others consider it a dialect, but then on the opposite scale, it's just a light accent. But when you listen to it for the first time, you need a few weeks to acclimatize yourself to the accent and the dialect. It's because it's intense.
Yes, cool. I just love different accents of the UK and all these jokes about those accents. So
absolutely. So they say that they change a little bit. The regional accents change a little bit every 10 kilometers. So. So there's a lot of variation in the country, absolutely. Well, obviously just a little bit, but as in the bigger changes you'll see over larger distances. But that gives you an idea how rich the UK is in accents. So in English, absolutely.
Interesting. So luckily in Russian state exam, they do not give too many accents in audio tasks, because I remember IELTS, they give to hear different accents, as I remember.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so as in some of them will, some of them won't, basically. But that makes it easier for the students, which is the plus point if there are fewer strong accents.
Now I'll explain the audio task. Итак, ребята, мы специально только что говорили про разные акценты английского языка, да, что даже в Англии существует много акцентов. Говорят, что в Лондоне существует 20, да, различных акцентов. Слава богу, в ЕГЭ вы будете слышать стандартный английский язык, но, тем не менее, да, нам нужно с вами научиться понимать хотя бы данный акцент. И в аудиочасти, прежде чем слушать задание, вам нужно будет обязательно сначала знакомиться внимательно с заданием. Да, первое задание очень простое. Нам нужно подобрать название к короткому тексту. So, I explained that we need to, before listening, we need to read the task thoroughly, and let's start.
Yeah, sure. Number one, knowing German offers you more career opportunities. Number two, German isn't as difficult as you may think. 3, you can't learn the German language quickly. 4, writers, philosophers, and scientists need to learn German. 5, I learn German because I'm attracted by the culture. Some unique academic books exist only in German. That was number 6. Number 7, German is an almost impossible language to learn.
Interesting.
So A, speaker A. Okay, so now I read speaker A. Yeah, okay. Speaker A, I'd like to debunk the myth that German is especially hard, despite all the jokes that are being made about it being an impossible language. If you are an English speaker, you are actually already quite advantaged because German and English share the same roots. Consequently, there are many thousands of words which are closely related. Besides, there's no new alphabet to learn, unlike in Chinese or Japanese. So it's not that hard after all. That was speaker A. So speaker A says that it wasn't that difficult. So I would say that it's number 2. Speaker it's number 2 for the first one, because the main point that the speaker is addressing is that German is not as hard as people think. So yeah, so that's the one that I would go for. Which one would you go for?
The same. Yes, I agree with you.
Yeah, I think it's that one. Okay. Now, so should I read? So now speaker B. Let's have a look at speaker B and see where they come. I honestly don't understand why some people might want to learn German. Isn't there a more comfortable and fun way to pass your time than studying this complex language? I mean, there are 4 noun cases, endless verb conjugations, umlauts and grammar rules with more exceptions than rules. Mark Twain said a person who has not studied German can form no idea of what a perplexing language it is, and I agree with him there. Yeah, so that was speaker B, so quite a different opinion to speaker A. So yeah, so that is definitely number 7 in my opinion. So speaker B is number 7.
I also think so. And, ребята, на самом деле ЕГЭ по английскому, оно достаточно сложное, да, и даже для меня, человек, который достаточно, я хорошо говорю по-английски, у меня есть много, это прям такой академический английский язык. Например, я впервые в жизни слышу слово, I'm saying that the first time I can hear the word, you said perplexing? Right?
Perplexing, yeah.
Perplexing. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's a good word to know. Absolutely, perplexing. So it's quite confusing. It's similar. It's a synonym of confusing.
And I've noticed that here they use quite academic English in the Russian state exam.
Yes, absolutely, they do. Yeah, so it's quite a formal style. It's quite a formal style of English. I mean, absolutely, you would meet people speaking like this, but it is quite academic, So this is It sounds, you know, so it's a higher register of English. Absolutely.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, perfect. So let's have a look at speaker C then, see where they come into we'll see where they fall into the mix. So speaker C, they say Germany is the country of poets and thinkers. I'm definitely not a poet, but I'd like to become a scientist in the future. That's why I learned German. You see, a large percentage of the world's most impressive achievements belong to Germany. Over 100 Nobel Prizes have gone to Germans for accomplishments in physics, medicine, chemistry, and other areas. I'd love to read famous publications in their native language. Yeah, it's interesting. We've got very different responses there. So that one, I would say it's number 4 for speaker C. So number 4, writers, philosophers, and scientists need to learn. Yeah, 4, possibly 6. So because 6 says some unique academic books that exist only in German. I don't think they said that they exist only in German.
No.
But that reading them in the original language, because obviously things can get lost in translation. So I would suggest, yeah, I'll still stick with 4.
4, definitely, yeah, because here he's saying that I'm definitely not a poet, but I'd like to become a scientist in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it said, and he stressed specifically that he wants to have the ability to read the language, to read in the original language. So in native language of the text that these were written in. So not that it only exists in German, but that the original is in German. Yeah, let's see if we can find speaker D. See if they fall into the mix. Okay. I guess everybody knows that there are a lot of award-winning scientists born in Germany. So it doesn't come as a surprise that German is very important in the academic community. As far as I know, it ranks 2nd as the most commonly used scientific language. The German book market is the 3rd largest in the world. Few of these books are translated into other languages, so knowing German will give me access to them. Yeah, exactly. So now speaker D is 4, definitely. So I know that without even going back up. But if you have a look at the responses, you know, when the speaker spoke about, you know, as in when the speaker spoke about certain academic books only existing in German, so that Germany has such a big book market, and it's the 2nd most commonly used language for science after English. So I would say it's 6. Some unique academic books exist only in German.
Yes. Great. Very interesting. Those information about in these audios, I find them very interesting. And by it's interesting coincidence that you yourself you did your degree in German, and yeah. So I suppose you know all these things already,
right? Absolutely. So, and I mean, I can give you an example. So when you compare certain other sort of North European countries, like if you look at, say, for example, Sweden or Denmark or Norway, so they tend to speak better English than Germans do. And I remember that I spoke with a relative of mine who's a vet, just to give you one example. And if he, for example, wants to start reading something on, say, an animal he's not as familiar with, like, let's say, a guinea pig, so he can find the literature in German, whereas a Swedish vet would probably need to look at that in English. So, and that might be the reason for it, because there's so much academic writing in German. So Yeah, absolutely. I can relate to a lot of those, but that's a personal example that I know. So personal anecdote.
I suppose it happens because in the past, the German language, it was scientific language, and now it's number one is English, and number two still is German, and still German is number two, I suppose, because they invest a lot of money in science, right?
Yeah, absolutely. They invest a lot of money in science. It's the largest economy in Europe as well. So, as in, it's also, as in, apart from after Russian, it's the language with the most native speakers in Europe as well. So it's very much it's a very influential language within the continent, absolutely. And so they do invest a lot of money into the sciences and in particular, industry. So that's the reason, and that's another reason for it. So we'll carry on back down with the next speaker. Let's find out about speaker E. Let me find speaker E. Okay. So my friends and I attend courses of German at our local linguistic center. I'm a rather ambitious person, and I hope knowing German will help me go up the career ladder faster. Germany is the biggest economy within the European Union and the fourth largest worldwide. Knowing the language of your German business partners can greatly improve your chances for effective communication and successful professional relationships. Okay, so that one's very clear. So it's very much based on what it can do for your employment chances and your career opportunities. So it's definitely number one. Yeah.
James, I have a question. Can we say Germany is the biggest economy in the European Union?
Yeah, absolutely.
And what's the difference?
So within and in. So in is just so you're describing the location as being inside. Within, it's when you're comparing a particular group. It's more when you're comparing a particular group, if that makes sense. So within this range, for example, but you're in this location, but within a particular range or within a group.
I see.
So that's the difference. So in this context, both of them work. But but generally speaking, when I say the largest economy in the European Union, as opposed to the largest economy within, so I'd more commonly say in the European Union for that one.
Thank you.
So that's good. So that's, but these are sort of small factors, but I would say in is, it seems more idiomatic to say in that context. So I'll move to the next speaker then, and I think it's F. So I learned German because I'm interested in art and literature. Though Germans have a reputation for being left-brained and analytical, the German-speaking world has also produced some of the greatest literary, musical, artistic, and philosophical minds in human history. For instance, it is the language of Goethe, Kafka, Brecht, and Mann. I want the real thing. I want to read my favorite authors in the original. So I learn German with pleasure.
Your German pronunciation, I think, is pretty clear. I mean, pretty native, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's my first foreign language. So it's definitely my second language because I lived there for several years. So I'm quite comfortable with it. Exactly. Yeah. So the pronunciation is not too difficult for native English speakers either. There's some exceptions, like the r is at the back of the throat, which is a bit tricky, and the h and h sounds quite tricky. But Generally, it's the grammar that English native speakers find harder because it's an inflected language. So the cases, lots of cases. But yeah, so I'm very confident in the language. So
cool. We in Russian, you know that we have cases.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice.
Absolutely. So yeah, because I think that there's more overlap between German and Russian grammar on that front. So because Russian's also inflected, you can move the words around, I think, can't you? So because it's more to do with the case, the word order. Whereas with English, the word order is everything. So classic example is if I say in German, I can say the sentence, the man bites the dog and the dog bites the man. But if I use the accusative, article, then I know that it has the same meaning. But in English, the man bites the dog and the dog bites the man have totally opposite meaning.
Yes. I see.
Yeah, exactly. So, so the word order is key for English.
Cool.
This one is definitely number 5. So, as in, I learned German because I'm attracted by the culture.
And which one is odd here? Odd one is number 3, right? You can't learn the German language quickly.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody's specifically mentioned how quickly you can learn the language. So as in you have some people talking about how difficult the language is and others saying that it isn't that difficult in the grand scheme of things. But you have nobody saying specifically talking about the speed at which you can learn the language.
Cool. Let's say there was some confusion, and luckily, thankfully to you, we found out what's better to choose. And so, guys, in each video, we're going to discuss each part because we want lessons, our YouTube lessons should be not as long. I hate all those videos which last hour and a half or something. And in the next video, we're going to discuss task number 2. And James, thank you. It was for the first video very interesting. You are a very experienced teacher, and yourself, you know a lot about languages. So we are very lucky that you you are helping us with our YouTube channel.
So well, it was a pleasure, Dinara, and so I'll see you all on the next one.